Good morning to all of you. We'll wait for some time, let the others join the class. Good morning, Mayuri.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, good morning. Why the others are not joining? Why they are joining late? So in the last lecture, we discussed about proposal, rules regarding valid proposal, rules regarding valid offer. That is offer and proposal are same. Rules regarding valid proposal, rules regarding valid acceptance. Now we are on the point of communication of offer and acceptance. Completion of communication. Read further. The PPT is visible to you. Completion of communication of offer. Section 4. Communication of proposal is complete when it comes to the knowledge of the person to whom it is made. So the person to whom the proposal is made, when it reaches him and when it comes to the knowledge of that person, the communication of proposal is complete. Let us go to the next slide. Communication of completion of communication of acceptance. Completion of communication of acceptance. Section 4. The communication of acceptance is complete. Now read carefully. As against the proposer. Proposer, who is proposer? The person who makes the proposal. Correct? The person who makes proposal is called as proposer. ठीक है ना? So section 4 talks about the communication of acceptance is complete as against the proposer. So the person who has made the proposal, against whom when the communication of acceptance will be complete. When it is put in the course of transmission to him, so as to be out of the power of the acceptor. So once the person to whom the proposal is made accepts the proposal and puts it in the course of transmission, he loses the power over that letter of acceptance. So at that point of time, the communication of acceptance is complete as against the proposer. Okay. And padho aage. As against the acceptor, when it comes to the knowledge of the proposer. So for the person who is posting the acceptance, the communication is complete when it comes to the knowledge of the proposer. Communication of revocation of offer and acceptance. Revocation is what? Taking back, withdraw. Correct? Section 5, a proposal may be revoked at any time. A proposal may be revoked at any time before the communication of acceptance is complete as against proposer. So before the acceptor puts the letter into the letter box, the proposal can be revoked, but not afterwards, not thereafter. An acceptance may be revoked at any time before the communication of acceptance is complete as against the acceptor, but not afterwards. Okay? Let me admit the student just a minute. So a proposal may be revoked at any time before the communication of acceptance is complete as against the proposer. So before the acceptance letter is put into the course of transmission, proposal can be revoked. And acceptance can be revoked at any time before the communication of acceptance is complete as against the acceptor, but not afterwards. So before the letter of acceptance comes to the knowledge of the proposer, the acceptance can be revoked. Correct? Let us go further. Section 4, communication of revocation is complete. Now we are on communication of revocation. Communication of revocation is complete as against the person who makes it when it is put in the course of transmission to the person to whom it is made, so as to be out of the power of the person who makes it, as against the person to whom it is made when it comes to his knowledge. Okay, so you have to be very careful while reading these sections. You have to stop where the comma is there, then only you will understand the meaning. Correct? Now please don't make any voice. There is a disturbance. Please mute yourself. Correct? So here the chapter of communication, chapter of proposal and acceptance is complete. Now let us go on to the next chapter. Just a minute, let me share the slide with you. What is the chapter's name? Consideration. Consideration. This word you came across for the first time in the definition of agreement. Do you remember? What was the definition of agreement? Every promise and every set of promises forming consideration for each other is an agreement. What was the definition of agreement? Every promise and every set of promises forming consideration for each other is an agreement. Correct? So I gave you the example, rather two examples. One was you going to the stationery shop and buying pen, and another was you are going by a BEST bus. You get in the bus at Worli Naka and you are going to college. So you buy a ticket and the bus drops you at AC Market. Correct? Though these two examples I had given to you. Now let us see again, because I had explained it to you at that time what consideration means. But let us see it again. First example, you go to the stationery shop, you order for a pen. He says, yes, pen is with me, the cost is rupees 20. You promise that shopkeeper that you will pay rupees 20, and the shopkeeper promises you to give you the pen, and for giving the pen he will receive the promise from you that you will pay rupees 20, and for your promise to pay rupees 20, what you are getting from the shopkeeper? Another promise that he will give you the pen. Correct? So for your promise, you are getting his promise in return, and for his promise, he is getting your promise promise in return. So that something in return for your promise and something in return for his promise is called as consideration. Correct? Have you followed? So for paying rupees 20, you are getting something in return, that is the pen. And for giving the pen, the shopkeeper is getting rupees 20 in return. So this something in return is called as consideration, and it is the required thing in the contract that we'll see in this chapter. Enforceability by law. Correct? So the consideration is required unless there is a consideration. If the consideration is not there, the agreement becomes void. Okay. So this something in return is consideration. Now let us see the next slide regarding this chapter of consideration. Please read what is written on the next slide. Consideration is one of the essentials of contract. While discussing the chapter of essentials of contract, we discussed this point that something that consideration is the important point or important essential of a contract. So for a contract, there has to be a consideration. So consideration is one of the essentials of the contract. One of the essentials. So there are so many other essentials also, but consideration is one of them. Correct? Next sentence. In a contract, promise is made in exchange of something in return. This something in return is the consideration. So something in return which is there in the contract for giving something, that something in return is called as consideration. So in general terms, the meaning of the word consideration is something in return for giving something. Correct? Let us see what is the definition of consideration under the Act. Section 2D. Definition. The section, it is defined under section 2 small d. So let us read the definition very slowly. when at the desire of the promisor, the promisee or any other person. So what it says, when at the desire. Desire means what? Wish, will, W-I-L-L. When at the desire of the promisor, the promisee or any other person has done or abstained from doing. Abstain means what? Not doing. Or does or abstains from doing, or promises to do or abstain from doing something. Such act or abstinence or promise is called consideration for the promise. So bit lengthy definition, may be confusing for somebody, but if you read as I have read it just now, it will be easier for you to understand it. Let us read it again. When at the desire of the promiser. So at promiser's desire, the promisee or any other person has done. So promisee or any other person has done. What done? Something. Or abstain from doing something. Or next is does something or abstains from doing something. Or promises to do something or abstain from doing something. So this word something you have to apply at every place. So promisee has done something, does something, or promises to do something. Such act or abstinence, such doing or not doing, or promise to do or not doing, is called as consideration for the promise. In simple words, at the desire of the promiser, the promisee has done something or not done something, or promises to do or not doing something, does or not doing, is not doing something. Correct? Then such doing or not doing will be called as consideration. So when you go to the stationery shop, you show your desire. What you tell the shopkeeper that I want a pen of Reynolds. When you are getting into the bus at Varli Naka, you want to go to air condition market. You tell the conductor that I want to go to AC market. So at your desire, the shopkeeper in one example and the conductor in other example will do something. Correct? So that is consideration. Correct? Let us go to the next slide. Essentials or legal rules for consideration. Essentials or legal rules for consideration. Consideration must move at the desire of the promiser. Case law क्या लिखा? Durga Prasad versus Baldev. What were the facts of the case? Mr. X, just look at the facts of the case. Mr. X spent rupees 1 lakh on the construction of shop at the request of the collector of the district. Mr. X spent rupees 1 lakh on the construction of shops at the request of collector of the district. In consideration of this, Why a shopkeeper promised to pay some money to X? Why a shopkeeper promised to pay some money to X? It was held that the agreement was void, being without consideration. X had constructed the shops at the desire of the collector and not at the desire of Mr. Y. So the desire has to be from the collector. So there cannot be a consideration from the third person. Correct? Now, another practical life example I can give you as far as this point is concerned. The facts of Durga Prasad versus Baldev we discussed. But the practical example, suppose Mr. A's house is on fire. A's house is on fire. B is a passerby. B is passing from there. A requests B to help him in extinguishing the fire. Now, B helps A in extinguishing the fire. A promises B that if he helps him in extinguishing the fire, he will pay him the rupees 500 as a reward. B helps A in extinguishing the fire and the fire is extinguished. Now A is bound to pay rupees 500 to B because the consideration has moved at the request of A. A requested B to do something, that's why B did it. So it is duty of A to pay the reward because the consideration had moved at the desire of the promisor. Take another example. Facts are same, only one thing changes. A's house is on fire. B is a passerby. B is passing from there, going from there. B voluntarily helps A in extinguishing the fire. B voluntarily helps A in extinguishing the fire. There is no request from A. Correct? Like in an earlier example. Now, after fire is extinguished, B cannot demand anything as reward from A because he had not helped at the desire of the promisor. So consideration was not there and there was no desire of the promisor. Correct? So remember these three examples, you will understand this point. Next point, consideration may be given by the promisee or any other person. Consideration may be given by promisee or any other person. See, we are explaining the definition itself, nothing more than that. What is the definition saying? When at the desire of the promisor, so that is your first point of explanation. Now, the second point of explanation is the second part of the definition. The promisee or any other person. Correct, no? Consideration may be given by the promisee or any other person. There is a case law. What is that? Chinnaya versus Ramayya. Chinnaya versus Ramayya. What were the facts of the case? A transferred the property to her daughter. So A is a female who transfers the property to her daughter with a condition that the daughter should pay Mr. B, who is A's brother. So the daughter's mama. So property it is transferred by A to the daughter on the condition. What is the condition? That the daughter should pay B annuity. Annuity is what? amount paid annually. So any amount paid annually is called as annuity. So transfer of property with the condition. Continuous noise is coming from somebody. Mute all. So the condition for transferring of property was to pay Mr. B, that is A's brother, annuity for a year, for the years regularly. The daughter executed a deed in favor of B, agreeing to pay the annuity. So daughter executed means signed or prepared and signed. So document was prepared, deed is that document. So that document was signed in favor of B, that is her mama, that she will pay a particular amount annually to Mr. B, that is her mama. Later on, afterwards, the daughter refused to pay on the ground that there was no consideration from the deed executed. That is, there was no consideration from mama or Mr. B coming to the daughter. Now try to understand. She is paying annuity to the mama, Mr. B, but not getting anything in return from him. No? In payment, for payment of the annuity, she is not getting anything in return from Mr. B, that is her mama. So she said that for paying the annuity, I am not getting anything in return. So there is no consideration in the agreement. So cancel the agreement. The agreement is void. The matter went to the court. The court held that the consideration had moved to the daughter from Mrs. A. in the form of the property. So consideration was given by any other person. In this case, who was that other person? Mrs. A. So Mrs. A has already given something in return to the daughter for making the payment of annuity to the mama. So the court held that the consideration had moved from Mrs. A by way of the property. So therefore, the consideration may be given by promisee. So promisee is mama or any other person. Any other person is Mrs. A. That is permissible. So consideration moving from Mrs. A is moving from any other person. So that is a valid consideration. Next is consideration may be past, present, or future. Now this is also again part of definition. Read these three things: has done or abstained from doing. This is past tense, no? So this is past consideration. Does or abstains from doing. Present tense, so present consideration. Promises to do or abstain from doing. So promises to do. This is not to be done just now. Promise is given that I will do or I will not do. So that is to be done in future. So this is future tense. Consideration can be or may be past, present, or future. Next is consideration need not be adequate. Very important point. Consideration need not be adequate. Adequate means what? Sufficient. Let us see the exact meaning. Adequate. Just wait for a few moments. adequate, sufficient. Correct? The meaning is sufficient. So what is written there? Consideration need not be adequate. The law says that there has to be consideration in the agreement. Law is not saying anything about how much consideration is required. How much consideration is required. Even minute or minimum consideration will be sufficient. But the presence of consideration has to be there in the agreement. So even minimum consideration, if it is there in a contract, that will suffice the purpose of law. जरूरत नहीं है, not necessary that the consideration should be equal always, or consideration should be more, or consideration should be less. The requirement is that the consideration has to be there. Very minimum consideration is also sufficient. So not necessarily that it is required to be adequate. Adequate means what? Sufficient. If there is minimum consideration, the agreement is perfectly valid. Law's requirement is that there has to be consideration. That's all. How much consideration, whether less or more or equal. Law says no. We don't go into these things. According to us, only the consideration is required. So that is the fourth point. Consideration need not be adequate. Next, consideration must be real and not illusory. Illusory is kalpanik. Real means actual. There has to be actual consideration. Stranger to the contract cannot sue upon it. Next point. Stranger to the contract cannot sue upon it. To sue upon means to file a case. When you enter into a contract with somebody, a legal relation is developed between you and that party. So development of relation, legal relation between the parties to the contract when they enter into a contract. So because of that legal relation, they get a right to file a case in case of any dispute. So a stranger to this relationship cannot file a case against the parties to the contract. So this relation which is developed between the parties is called as privity to the contract. I will repeat. When the parties enter into a contract, they develop a relation or legal relation between them. This legal relation is called as privity of contract or privity to the contract. So if there is any dispute with respect to the transaction or with respect to the contract they have entered into, they have the right to enforce that dispute before the court of law. They have the right to file a case against the other party before the court of law. So this right to file a case is available only to the persons who have privity to contract, legal relations with respect to the contract. A stranger to that cannot file a case against any of the parties to the contract. Short example, the quarrel is going on between you and your friend. Your other friend comes and tries to pacify both of you to resolve the issue between you and your friend. What do you tell him? You tell him कि हम हमारा देख लेंगे, तू बीच में मत पड़ना. Correct? So what you tell him? We will solve our issue. You don't interfere. Why? Because the parties to the issue are you and your friend. The other friend is not a party to the issue. So the other friend is not a party to the contract between you and your friend. Just an example to understand, to make you understand the concept. There is no contract between you and your friend to fight, no? But just to understand, just to make you understand, what you tell your friend that don't come in between. The quarrel is between us. We will decide what is to be done. So the third party has no right to interfere. Okay? Let us go further. Exceptions. There are exceptions to this rule. Exception, एक example what I will give you is in case of third party insurance contracts. Third party insurance, what it is? It is a contract which is for the benefit of somebody else who is not a party to the contract. For example, you own a bike or you own a four-wheeler. You have to pay insurance yearly and you have to have the insurance for that bike or car. And you have to pay premium for that. Correct? So the part of your premium which you pay goes to or goes for the third party insurance claim. So if your car or your bike meets with an accident and a third party is injured, okay, third party is injured, that third party can file a case against you in the court of law for recovery of losses caused to that third party from the insurance company. Now, strictly speaking, the contract of insurance is between you and the insurance company. But the beneficiary of that is the third party, no? That is the injured. You do not know who is that person at present because you do not know with whom you are going to meet with an accident, no? Or whether you are going to meet with an accident at all or not. That you don't know. But it's a misfortune that you meet with an accident with somebody while driving and that person is injured. So that person is not a party to the contract between you and the insurance company when you are paying the premium to insurance company or when you are taking the policy of the insurance. At that time, you are paying insurance premium for the third party insurance also. So the contract is between you and the insurance company. And the third party who meets with an accident is a stranger to that contract. But as the contract is for the benefit of that third party, even though that third party is a stranger, that can file a case against you and the insurance company. So the exception to the rule, stranger to the contract cannot sue upon it, is the third party under third party insurance claims, even though that third party is a stranger to the contract, can sue upon it. Is this clear? Is this clear? Let us go to the next slide. Performance of existing obligation is no consideration. Performance of existing obligation is no consideration. Performance. Performance for doing something. Existing obligation. Obligation is zimmewari. Duty. Existing obligation is no consideration. Suppose you witness a crime happening in your presence. Witness a crime happening in your presence. And you are called as a witness by the police in the court. So you will have to go to the court because it is your obligation towards the society. You have to punish a wrongdoer. The person committing the crime, you have to see to it that he gets punished. So it is your duty to help the government in this matter. And for going to the court and giving evidence, going to the court as a witness and giving evidence, you are not obliging, or you are not favoring, or you are not doing any favor on the government. So you cannot demand anything for doing this. So it is your existing obligation. So for that which you cannot demand something in return. Correct? Next, 8th point. Consideration must be lawful. Consideration must be lawful. This point we are going to discuss in detail, a lawful and unlawful consideration and object. In that part of the chapter, we are going to discuss this point. So these are the legal rules regarding consideration. Correct? Let us read further. Exceptions to the rule: no consideration, no contract, or legality of agreements without consideration. So you have come across a rule: no consideration, no contract. So consideration is one of the essentials of a valid contract. There has to be consideration in the agreement, in the contract. If there is no consideration, the agreement becomes void. The contract becomes void. Correct? So the rule is no consideration, no contract. So if there is no consideration in the agreement, the contract will not be there. However, there are exceptions to this rule. Apavad. What do you mean by exceptions? Apavad. So the things which you will write down now, or you will understand now, in those things or in those cases, there is no consideration, but still the agreement is valid. I'll repeat, things or with the points which you will understand after this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In that there is no consideration, but still you have to treat it as valid contract. Correct? Read further. The general rule is that an agreement without consideration is void. That's what I explained it to you, just now. The general rule is that an agreement without consideration is void. The rule is based on maxim ex nudo pacto nor oritur actio. Into bracket, from a bare promise, no right of action can arise. Thus, no contract arises if there is no consideration. Correct? So the general rule is what? Agreement without consideration is void. The Latin maxim bhi dhyan mein rakhna. Ex nudo pacto non oritur actio. From a bare promise, no right of action can arise. Thus, no contract arises if there is no consideration. So if there is no consideration, no contract, or there has to be a consideration in the agreement to make the agreement a valid contract. So this is one of the essentials of valid contract, that is consideration. So if there is no consideration in the agreement is not enforceable by law. So there has to be some consideration. Even minimum consideration will suffice, but consideration must be there in the agreement. If there is no consideration in the agreement becomes void. Correct? This is the general rule. And the exceptions to the general rule we will have to look into in the coming lecture. Okay? So do you have any difficulties as far as the things which I discussed with you just now in today's lecture? Please shoot them. Any difficulties in what we discussed just now in this first lecture? Please ask me. You can search for your difficulties. We will go on for a break. We will be meeting sharp at 9 o'clock. Okay? We will be meeting sharp at 9 o'clock. Till then, there is a break. Please join back at 9 o'clock. Okay? So are you back? Are you back from the break? Yes, please respond. Have you joined again?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So we were on the general rule and we were to start the exceptions to general rule. General rule is that the rule is based on maxim ex nudo pacto non oritur actio. From a bare promise, no right of action can arise. General rule is that an agreement without consideration is void. So if there is no consideration, there will be no contract. Agreement enforceable by law is a contract. So if there is no considering in the agreement, there will not be any contract. So the agreement will not be enforceable by law if there is no consideration. Correct? Try to understand these things. Everything revolves around the definition of the word contract. Agreement enforceable by law. So if there is no consideration, agreement is not enforceable by law. So the agreement is void. Correct? So normal or general rule is what? No consideration, no contract. Or without consideration, the agreement becomes void. So that is the general rule. So exceptions to that general rule. Exceptions means the following things, in following things, this rule is not applicable. Correct? Now, which are the exceptions that we have to understand? The following are the exceptions to the rule: no consideration, no contract. Point one: an agreement in writing and registered. Registered means somewhere it is registered in the registrar's office. In sub-registrar's office, it is registered. In Hindi, it is called as Panjikaran. Correct? And in Marathi, it is called as Nondani. Nondani. So agreement in writing and registered, made on an account of natural love and affection between the parties standing in near relation to each other, requires no consideration. So this type of agreement requires no consideration. So even if there is no consideration in this type of agreements, the agreement is valid. The agreement is not void if there is no consideration in this type of agreement. But what are the requirements of this type of agreement? Agreement must be in writing and registered and made on account of natural love and affection between the parties standing in near relation to each other. Now, who are the parties standing in near relation to each other? What do you mean by near relation? The relationship between father and son, father and daughter, mother and son, mother and daughter. These relations are called as near relations. Okay. So the agreement which is in between the parties having a near relation with each other and made on account of natural love and affection, and they are in writing and they are registered, such agreements requires no consideration. So if there is an agreement of this type, then this agreement is valid even if there is no consideration in the agreement. You are following me? Even if there is no consideration in the agreement, this type of agreement is treated as valid. So this is the exception to the general rule: no consideration, no contract. Now please try to memorize this point after reading this first point. What I'm trying to tell you, please try to understand that. We are waiting here for a moment. Okay. Understood this point? Let us go to the next point. Agreement for compensation of past voluntary services requires no consideration. Agreement for compensation of past voluntary services requires no consideration. Compensation for past voluntary services. Mr. A has done something in past for Mr. B. And for that, Mr. B is paying him ₹1,000 for today. So for paying ₹1,000 today, B has got something in return in past. No? Read the sentence carefully. Agreement for compensation of your internet connection is unstable. Can you hear me? Agreement for my internet connection was unstable. Can you hear me? Agreement for okay. It's okay. Agreement for compensation of past voluntary services. So past services which are given by A to B, they were voluntary. On his own, A has helped B for certain things. Now B pays ₹1,000 to A for past voluntary services. Now for paying A ₹1,000 today, B is not getting anything in return. But B has already got something in return in past, no? Therefore, this agreement requires no consideration as on today. Is this clear? So something like past consideration. B has already received something in past as a voluntary service from A. For that, he is paying the reward today. So B has received something in return in past. So no fresh consideration is required as on today when he gifts or when he pays ₹1,000 to him. Okay. Next point, a promise to pay time barred debt requires no consideration. What is time barred debt? Anybody can tell me? Time barred. Barred by time or barred by law of limitation. There is one law called as law of limitation. We'll take one example here. I sell you the goods worth ₹50,000. I deliver the goods to you. It is for you to pay me ₹50,000. But you are not paying it. The day you receive the goods, it is your duty to pay me. So that is the first day your liability arises. Correct? So you are not making the payment. So what I can do is, I can file a case against you for recovery of that amount of rupees 50,000. But when can I file a case against you? Or up to what time can I file a case against you for recovery of the amount of rupees 50,000 from you in a legal manner? गुंडा भेज के कर सकता हूं. I can send you gundas and recover the money, but that is not the legal way. So till what time can I file a case against you? So my claim to file a case against you can be alive for a particular period of time. Correct? So my claim to file a case against you is valid for a particular period of time, and which time is fixed by the law of limitation. So law of limitation tells that if the amount is to be recovered from any party, the limitation for filing a case is, for example, 3 years. Correct? So I have a right to file a case against you within that period of 3 years. If I fail to file a case against you within that period of 3 years, then the right to file the case goes away or is extinguished or is over. So I cannot file a case against you for legally recovering the dues of rupees 50,000 from you after the expiry of period of 3 years. Correct? Now you are liable to pay me 50,000 from the day when you receive the goods. So calculate 3 years from that period, from that day. And after the expiry of the 3 years period, I lose my right to file a case against you. Correct, no? I lose my right to file a case against you. So as soon as I lose my right to file a case against you, the debt has become time barred. Barred by the law of limitation, not allowed by the law of limitation. Correct? So you have now understood what do you mean by time barred debt. So legally, I cannot do anything against you for recovery of that amount of rupees 50,000. Now, someday after 3-4 years, you realize that sir's money is required to be repaid. Bide sir's amount, which is pending for last 3 years, we must repay him. We must pay him the amount. Now, you pay that 50,000 rupees to me. Now, for making that payment of 50,000, you will get nothing in return, no? Why? Because you have already got something in return 3 years back, 4 years back rather. 4 years back. I cannot file or I could not file a case against you because the period of limitation was over. Now you are making the payment to me. For that payment, you will not get anything in return because you have already got the return 4 years back by way of goods. Is it not? Just a minute. Huh? So you have received the something in return by way of goods 4 years back, 4 to 5 years back. So now when you are making the payment of rupees 50,000, you are making the payment of the time bar debt for which you will not get anything in return. Correct? So that is the point number 3. Next is no consideration is necessary to create an agency. No consideration is necessary to create an agency. For creation of agency, for appointing an agent, no consideration is required. And last point is gift. When you are giving a gift, are you expecting anything in return from that person? Return gift is something else. But for making the gift to your friend at his birthday, you are expecting a treat from that friend. That is okay. That is a social thing. But legally, are you getting anything in return for giving the gift? No. So in that event, the gift is also a thing wherein there will be no consideration. Still the gift is valid. Correct? Let us go further. So in these 5 situations, even if there is no consideration, the agreement becomes valid. In other cases, if there is no consideration, the agreement is void. But in these 5 cases, these being the exceptions to the rule of no consideration, no contract, the consideration is not there, but still they are to be treated as valid. These transactions are to be treated as valid even though there is no consideration. So please read 1 to 5 again. Read it. I want you to read again. Let us go further. Unlawful considerations and objects. Unlawful considerations and objects. Read that. Unlawful consideration and object. The consideration or object of an agreement is lawful unless it is forbidden by law or is of such nature that if permitted, it would defeat provisions of any law, or it is fraudulent, or it involves or implies injury to the person or property of another, or if the court regards it as immoral or opposed to public policy. Immoral or opposed to public policy. What you have written? Consideration or object of an agreement is lawful unless See, now here you have to understand the effect of English. Correct? The consideration or object of an agreement is lawful unless it is forbidden by law. So if the consideration or object is forbidden by law, it becomes unlawful. Correct? Another way of understanding it is the consideration of or object of an agreement is unlawful if it is forbidden by law. Unlawful if it is of such nature that if permitted, it would defeat provisions of any law. Unlawful if it is fraudulent. Unlawful if it involves or implies injury to the person or property of another. Unlawful if the court regards it as immoral or opposed to public policy. So the consideration of or object of an agreement is lawful unless it is forbidden by law. So if the consideration or object is forbidden by law, it is unlawful. Barabar? What do you mean by forbidden by law? Not permitted, not allowed. Correct? So if it is not permitted by law, then it is unlawful. Next is of such nature. Is of such nature that if permitted, it would defeat provisions of any law. Defeat means parabhav, harana. If permitted, it will defeat provisions of any law. So if this consideration or object is permitted, it would be against provisions of any law, or it is fraudulent. So there is a fraud in consideration or object. There is a fraud in consideration or object. Or it involves or implies injury. It implies injury. Injury is what? Harm to a person or property of another. Injury to person kaise hoga? How it will be there? There will be two types of injuries to person, either bodily injury or injury to the reputation. There will be a bodily injury or injury to the reputation, or the injury will be to the property of a person. So the injury will be to the property of the person. So there will be some loss to the property of the another person. So if the consideration of an object involves injury like this, then that is unlawful. And lastly, it is if the court regards it as immoral, against morality, and opposed to public policy. Now, what is public policy? That is the matter of consideration for us in the next slide. Correct? Let us go to the next slide. Agreement against public policy. The term public policy has been defined, has not been defined. The term public policy has not been defined anywhere. So as we have the definitions of other things or other terms, we do not have the definition of the term public policy. In general, it refers to morals of the time and the established social, economic, cultural, and political interests of the society from time to time. The agreement against public policy are declared to be void. The following agreements have been held to be against public policy. Your internet connection is unstable. Again, there is some problem with respect to internet connection. So what do you mean by public policy? It refers to public morals of the time and the established social, economic, cultural, and political interests of the society from time to time. So in short, what is good and what is bad, what are the things which are decided by the society, which things are good for the society, which things are not good for the society. These aspects decide what is the public policy. So established social, economic, cultural, political interest of the society is the, from time to time, is to be treated as public policy. Correct? So which are the agreements? When you will study the agreements, you will come to know what the public policy means. Agreement of trading with an enemy. Trading with an enemy. Enemy, trading with an enemy. So doing business with an enemy. Now here, this point you will study in detail in capacity to contract. But in short, I will explain the point to you here also. See, there are two concepts: align enemy and align friend. Align enemy and align friend. Correct? Just a minute. Give me a few moments. I have received one phone call. I will have to attend it. Just a minute. I will mute myself. Okay, let us start. So there are two terms: align friend and align enemy. Align means foreigner, and friend means friend, and enemy is, Shatru, Dushman. So there are two types of alliance: align friend and align enemy. So any agreement with align friend, that is foreigner friend, is perfectly enforceable. Correct? But any agreement with align enemy during the continuance of the war is suspended. So enemy country, any person from the enemy country will be align enemy. So agreement for trading with an align enemy will be void. This point we will study in detail when we are studying capacity to contract. Okay, so we will keep it reserved for that chapter to be studied in detail at that time. Correct? Mm, agreement for maintenance and champerty. What is that? Maintenance is an agreement whereby one party having no interest in the case agrees to assist another to maintain the case. So one party, that is the third person, forces another to file a case. Try to understand. A and B are having business relations. A and B are having business relations. And now there is a dispute between A and B. Now, in normal course, the dispute can be resolved by sitting across the table. But Mr. Z, who is a friend of A, forces A to file a case and try to help A in filing the case. against Mr. B. So unnecessarily the dispute will be there, which dispute could have been resolved by sitting across the table. Correct, no? So this is not possible because Z is instigating or Z is forcing A to file a case against Mr. B. And he agrees that Mr. Z will assist A for the case. Correct? So this is called as maintenance. And champerty is an agreement whereby one party agrees to assist another in recovering property and in turn to share the proceeds of the action. Champerty. So Mr. Z just not assisting him, Mr. A, but he is telling A that if you are benefited in the case, you have to share the benefit with me. So that is called as champerty. Next is, so this is not morally correct. No, this is not morally correct. Correct. So you are understanding me what I'm trying to tell you. Now next, is agreements agreement for stifling. Please mute yourself. Agreement for stifling prosecution. Okay, what is the meaning of that? Let us see. Any agreement to stifle or prevent illegally prosecution is void as it would be against justice. Mr. X, example बोलता हूँ. Mr. X who knows that Mr. Y has committed a murder. Mr. X has seen Y committing a murder. Mr. X receives rupees 10 lakhs from Y in consideration of not giving witness or evidence in the court. This agreement is illegal. So what is the illegality here? It is the duty of Mr. X to give evidence and to be a witness and see to it that Mr. Y is punished. But he is making a settlement with Mr. Y by receiving rupees 10 lakhs. So this is an agreement for stifling prosecution. So this agreement is void. Correct? Next point. Agreement interfering with administration of justice. Administration of justice. Justice is administered by the judges. Correct? So if judge is bribed, the decision would be in favor of a person who has given the bribe. So in that event, the justice would not be done. So administration of the agreement to bribe the judge is coming in the way of administration of justice. So it is becoming against public policy and it is invalid or void. Next point is agreements interfering with public duty. So any agreement which is interfering with public duty. So if a person is doing his duties, then any agreement interfering in public duties is void. Just a minute.